of police and the district attorney's office, or state attorney's office as it is here, would have liked nothing more than to find any shred or ounce of probable cause that they could have used to charge George with any crime. They in fact found none, and then it became politicized. And unfortunately, a political calculation was made, centered around the politics of race, and the law was defiled.
So that was yesterday. Robert Zimmerman Jr. is George Zimmerman's brother, my guest here in studio in New York, and good morning to you.
Good morning, Bill.
I want to get to that point in a moment here. You also said yesterday the state will not be able to meet its burden.
Absolutely.
What do you mean by that?
This is an improper charge. It's a charge that should have never happened. You know, I think the people who were acting ethically and honoring their oath from the very beginning and did not bring forth charges were honoring their oath. And they were honorable people, and I think that the chief of police at the time, the former chief now, Bill Lee, or the state attorney's office would have liked nothing more than probable cause to be able to charge George with a crime if in fact a crime had been committed. Not only did they find this was not murder, they found that no crime had happened at all.
But you contend that the prosecution has to either prove murder or has to prove that he did not act.
Actually, my understanding is,
act in self-defense.
Right. My understanding is that it's in fact both. They have to prove that it is a murder, and then they have to prove that it is not possible that he acted in self-defense.
Otherwise, your brother walks free.
Correct.
Wow. A couple of things you've done in the past several months drew a lot of media attention to you. You had quite a response yesterday in court yesterday. Do you regret what you did back in March on your Twitter account that seemed to suggest a hint of racism?
I don't know that it's racism. I think I had to learn how to use Twitter in a very public sphere. I made a mistake. I apologize for it. And I think that I'm not going to be tweeting, obviously, once the jury is impaneled, because I think it's inappropriate.
Do you think you hurt your brother at all?
Hard to tell. I don't think so. I think if we narrow the scope of the events that transpired that night, you know, down to those 5 or 6 minutes or so, we will get a clearer picture in court. Court has this amazing way of putting filters on. This is not about the defendant's brother or anybody else. This is about two lives that intersected, a tragedy, and a very straightforward act of self-defense.
Well, so some of the defense you have on your behalf and your brother's behalf is that he had a broken nose and that he had a bloody head.
Right.
Do you think that helps his case, and if so, by how much?
I think it helps. I think it's very telling that you had Megyn Kelly had Alan Dershowitz on saying that if he were the prosecutor who had filed that affidavit, he would be getting an attorney. And I think that it was telling that in the first bond hearing, it was revealed that the state of Florida never bothered to inquire or to get the medical records that proved George had a broken nose. You know, and I think that I went out on Piers Morgan and I said medical records will confirm he was attacked, his nose was broken, and I was called a liar. And George has been called a liar. I think it's great that he got to meet the jurors. He's a real person. He's a real person with real emotions. He's sensitive and caring, and he's not a mythological monster as he's been made out to be, and he's in very good hands. But all of the evidence that kind of counters this notion that Mr. Martin was not a person who was capable of injuring him to the extent that he did is going to play very well in his favor.
You know, there's one observer who says you can put all the issues of race and society to the side. What the jurors have to figure out is what happened that night.
Correct.
And you have that 18-second clip of someone yelling help,
right,
which will be absolutely critical and essential to the jurors as they deliberate this. Now, if they determine that's the voice of Trayvon Martin, does your brother stand a chance?
You know, right now we're still awaiting the conclusion of what's called a Fry hearing to determine if expert testimony is going to be allowed at all. And there's also going to be
and the judge is going to make a decision on that one way or the other.
Right, and in addition to determination if those tapes will be allowed at all. And the reason those tapes are so contentious is that it's clear to those who use science as the standard that it is, including the FBI in the state of Florida, it's pretty much impossible to tell over a scream who is screaming. A scream is not a normal voice. Speech is different than scream. And I think that came forth in the Fry hearing.
And the jurors are going to have to figure that out if indeed they're allowed to have access to that evidence. I have to go, but how is your brother doing? He appears to be larger than we last saw him.
I think
is he healthy?
Well, you know, being overweight is not healthy. I think the stress is uncanny, and I think that everybody responds to stress in a different way. I lost weight. I picked up smoking as a habit, which is terrible, and George gained weight.
We have some breaking news.